When I got fired, stabbed by my closest friend, and left by my hubby, I decided to flip the script and bought myself a lottery ticket. One ticket for 8 million. I was beaming from ear to ear until a sudden blinding flash from a massive truck's headlights knocked me out. The next thing I knew, I was waking up with my dad beside me, someone I hadn't seen in 4 years, peeling an apple. Seeing him was unreal because it had been forever since I'd seen him this young. He died during my sophomore year, worked his tail off his whole life, but never got to enjoy it before he was gone. Tears welled up in my eyes. If this was a dream, I wanted it to never end. "Mia, you little rascal!" My mom's voice, loud as a lion's roar, almost shattered my eardrums. Thank goodness my head was wrapped in bandages, giving me some protection. She stormed over with medicine in hand, not caring about the sideways looks from other families. "How many times have I told you not to use your phone while walking?" I looked at her, noticing the first few crow's feet starting to show around her eyes, and at my dad's hair still dark at the temples. Then I stretched out my leg and stubbed my toe on the bed frame. Ouch! So this wasn't a dream? "Mom, what's today's date? Did you hit your head too hard?" She pulled out a thermos, searching for a spoon. "It's already October 9th, and school started a while ago. Senior year is 2015. What else, Mia? I'm kinda accepting it. I'm not asking you to get into a top university, but can't you be a bit more obedient, always sneaking out late, and this time you really messed up." I pouted, secretly grateful to still hear her nagging. The door clicked open, and my instincts made me glance over, but I couldn't lift my head enough to see. But Mom's smile lit up instantly. "Zoe's here, just got out of school?" She drew closer, and as she finally came into my narrow line of sight, I saw who it was. Zoe, my dear friend. The same one I caught 7 years later in bed with my husband. Back in high school, we were inseparable. Zoe always had my back. Even when I was a rebellious teen with messy romances, she stood by me. Even on that day when I caught her and Ryan at the hotel, I instinctively wanted to hear her side, but all I heard were her pent-up grievances. "Mia, you don't deserve all this," she said. Turns out, our decade-long friendship was as flimsy as tissue paper, and all those unfortunate events, Zoe was behind them, fueled by deep-seated resentment. "Hey, Annie, I'm here to see Mia." Zoe put down her bag and sat by my bed, her eyes full of concern. "What happened to you? Tripped on the stairs? Was it because I missed a step?" All I remember was a big truck speeding toward me. If I'm back here, then what about me in 7 years? Am I dead? Lucky for them, those two. My heart ached for my unclaimed 8 million. I was so close to being a rich single lady. I'm beat. I'm gonna sleep. Zoe must not have expected me to be so cold. I used to share everything with her. The more I thought, the more annoyed I got. "You're just sleeping while Zoe's here to see you. I'm the patient. I'm not feeling well." I shut my eyes, not wanting to see Zoe's crocodile tears. If God gave me a second chance, I would totally change my life. Zoe, Ryan, they can all bounce. Nothing stopping me from becoming a rich single lady. I stayed home for over a week after getting discharged. Finally, I went back to school in November. The cast on my arm was still on, and as soon as I walked into the classroom, all eyes were on me. Everyone exchanging glances, all aimed at me. Why? I thought back. This must be around the time I confessed to Ryan at the flagpole, got publicly rejected, and rumors spread that I was so heartbroken, I tried to take my life. Ignoring the stares, I headed to my corner desk, finding it piled high with books and assignments. "Whose stuff is on my desk?" The guy in front of me turned around, looking annoyed. "A new classmate took your spot. You need to go downstairs and get a new desk and chair." I didn't have many friends in class, or the whole school really. I was that notorious girl chasing after Ryan, in the top 10 for nothing except causing drama. I just stood there staring at him, and finally, he went back to his papers without more snide comments. After all, I'm 7 years older than him now. I threw my bag on the windowsill and left the classroom to find the homeroom teacher. "Yeah, there's a new student. Just go get a desk and chair on the first floor." The same excuses, but now from the teacher. I stood my ground until she finally looked up at me. "Seeing your arms are a bit of a hassle? Go ask the class monitor to help you." I smirked inside. This teacher knows how unpopular I am and used to give me a hard time until everyone avoided me like the plague. Teacher, the class monitor isn't around right now. I don't have friends to help with this. Her brow furrowed, surprised by my honesty. Her disdain was obvious. Wait a bit then, and I'll help once I'm done here. Teacher, class starts in 5 minutes. I need to make it back. Mia, I've never seen you so studious before. Now you're all fired up. She brushed off my comments, but still didn't budge. I'll get it, she spoke up from behind, surprising me. A boy I didn't recognize. Lucas, your class is about to start. I'll go quickly. Glad to dodge a chore, the teacher ushered us out. He quietly went downstairs and came back with a desk and chair. Why was this guy so helpful? Also, he seemed to know where I was sitting. He just placed the desk right behind my old spot without saying a word and then turned away. I noticed Zoe getting up to come over, but the bell rang and she sat back down. I took out the practice tests I hadn't touched in a month and glanced at them. Sets, vectors, statistics, parabolas? Crap. I seriously don't know any of this. The guy who helped me move my desk came in through the front door with the homeroom teacher, dropped off some test papers, and walked straight to the desk in front of mine. No wonder he was so nice. He took my spot. Ignoring all that, I pulled out my mock exam scores from September, just 424 points. The math teacher was at a meeting, and we had to do a set of test papers over the next 2 classes. Great. I just got here, and it's already exam time. My head started hurting a bit. Oh well, might as well see how bad the damage is. The grueling hour and a half finally ended. Zoe came straight to me after class. Mia, is your arm okay? It's fine. That's good. I kept my head down, flipping through my book, not really looking at her. But she wouldn't give up. I heard Ryan's playing basketball at the small court during lunch. If you want to see him, we could sneak out during nap time. I looked up at Zoe and suddenly realized she always pushed me to see Ryan. I ended up getting called a toad with a crush while she played the good guy. She was totally just using me. I forced a smile. I'm not going. You go if you want to. Zoe looked upset. Mia, what's wrong? I kind of spoke up, and people around us could hear. Some even came over to stick up for Zoe. Mia, everyone knows you like Ryan. Why pretend and blame Zoe? She's been nothing but nice to you. She even collected your papers when you weren't around. Zoe's not like me. She's super popular. I used to think she was really my friend, but now it's clear I was just part of her act. I'm telling you, I'm not into Ryan anymore. I don't want to argue with you guys. Can you back off? I glanced at them like I was looking at trash, then went back to my math notes. Stop pretending to be a good student, Mia. With your scores in the 300S or 400S, you really think you can get into a good college? You must have hit your head. I wasn't always a bad student. I got into the advanced class in high school, but I've been slacking off. They were so annoying. I never realized how unbearable they were. Finally, I snapped the book shut. Well, just wait and see if I make it into Cambridge. I shot a cold look at them. This is my space. The trash can is by the door. If you want to hang out, go over there. I was fed up with all these high school games and drama. It's not like I could escape it. When we got our test papers back, mine had a glaring red 78 on it. I was last in math. Advanced classes really are tough. Talk is cheap, but getting above 400 points is gonna be tough. After class, I headed straight to the math department. The math teacher seemed like the only person who didn't think badly of me. Teacher, can I talk to you? With my current grades, how can I improve quickly? The math teacher put on her glasses and saw my 78, then laughed. Mia, I knew you'd come talk to me. I froze, waiting for her to continue. She pulled out a workbook from the cabinet and handed it to me. It's great that you're motivated. This study guide is perfect for those struggling with the basics. Understand it thoroughly and we'll take it step by step. The blue cover looked familiar. In my past life, she gave this to several students who needed a foundation. But my focus was all on Ryan back then, not on my studies. I barely scraped by in college entrance exams and ended up at a random school. Thanks, teacher. I'll work hard. Leaving the math department, I headed back, eyes on my book, and accidentally bumped into someone. Mia, not again? Aren't you tired of this? I froze, recognizing the voice. No need to look. It was Ryan, my cheating ex-husband. In my last life, I chased Ryan for 6 years and married him because his grandpa wanted to see him settled before passing. I thought I could change him, but he was already involved with my best friend. Seeing that handsome face now, I felt nothing. I walked right past him. Mia's up to something sneaky again. Some whispers floated around. I really hated being watched like this, so I turned and followed the voices. If you have something to say, speak up. Oh, don't whisper like worms behind my back. I let out a cold laugh and walked away. My bold move in the hallway spread around school. People said I'd hit my head and gone crazy. Doesn't matter. There are 210 days until the college exams. I have to stay focused. Math problems were so tough. One parameter question wasted my time. And I still got the M value range wrong in the end. Zoe was acting weird. I thought my words would have ended things between us that day, but she still clung to me. Mia, did I do something to make you misunderstand? No, you didn't. You're fine. I just don't feel like dealing with people. I didn't want to argue, so I pulled out my history test and silently memorized the mnemonics the teacher gave us. We had a quiz next period, and I couldn't write down anything. Is it because I keep mentioning Ryan? I wasn't trying to bug her. It's just that giving up on him feels like a waste. It wasn't a waste when I got rejected and became everyone's target. Or do you mean it's a waste to chase after him, slack off, and end up failing college? Expressionless, I shut the test paper. Zoe, I only feel like it's a waste when I disappoint myself. Some mocking laughs came from the door. I looked over. Ryan and his friends were standing there. Mia, did you really hit your head? What's with all this speechifying? I glanced at the rude guy, then at Ryan and Zoe. So pretending to act pitiful to reconcile was actually to leave a good impression on Ryan. Zoe, you didn't need to make me the bad guy so openly. Just as I was about to get up and snap back at those idiots, they were pushed aside from behind. Excuse me, it was the transfer student who took my seat. I hadn't heard him speak all this time. He was incredibly aloof. Does your class not have lessons? Always blocking my classroom door. The transfer student had an aura about him. It only took one sentence to shut those people up, and they awkwardly left. Ryan frowned at me before leaving. With the trash at the door gone, Zoe returned to her seat. As the transfer student walked by me, I whispered a thank you. No worries. The mock exam results for November came out. The papers hadn't been returned yet, but I hastily grabbed my report card first for 25 points. I felt a bit down, but I told myself that was pretty good, considering I hadn't touched books in nearly 10 years and still managed this. The math teacher's detailed explanation of key points really helped. At least the scores showed a clear 105 in math, giving me a glimmer of hope for starting over. Look at our Cambridge wannabe, worked a month just to raise it by a point. It was Ava, the girl who spoke up for Zoe last time, mocking me with an air of superiority. How I improve is none of your business. Did you have something salty for lunch? Mia, people like you always aim too high, like a toad wishing to eat swan meat. I figured out why she held such animosity towards me. It was all because of Ryan. It was the same in my previous life. Ava always picked on me and even tripped me on purpose during gym, leaving me embarrassed. After that, I stopped liking school and just started skipping. I suddenly stood up, picked up the water cup on the desk, and splashed it all over her. The chair screeched across the marble floor, catching everyone's attention. Mia! The soaked girl began to shout just as the homeroom teacher walked in. Mia, get out here right now. People usually trust what they see, like the arrogant girl just got doused, and I was standing across from her, unscathed. The answer was obvious. I looked around at the undisguised disdain and contempt in everyone's eyes. It was so pointless. I grabbed my backpack, threw it over my shoulder. Don't need to tell me, teacher. I'm leaving myself. Mia, make sure you're back at school tomorrow. My mom thought I was being self-destructive again when I came home skipping school after doing okay for over a month. I can study on my own. There's a computer at home. I felt choked up inside. Self-studying is normal nowadays. No need to waste time at school, living this life again. I really didn't want to fight with my mom over stuff like this, so I found an excuse to leave the house. But I had nowhere to go. I used to always stay at Zoe's place whenever I got into arguments and ran away from home. She always had my back, and I trusted every word she said. She'd tell me no one understood me, and I hadn't done anything wrong. Eventually, I stopped believing anyone else. I sat in a daze outside a go-to convenience store near school, unsure of what to do next. Suddenly, a bottle of water appeared in front of me. I looked up to see a face as cold as ice. "Transfer student? What are you doing here? Do you have something to discuss?" I asked cautiously. "Mia, are you planning not to go back to school?" I was suspicious. "Why do you care?" "Not planning to, at least for now. You're just gonna let those who bullied you get away with it." "What do you mean? It's not shameful to avoid things. You can dodge all the trouble. But can you really swallow that pride? Watching those who bullied you be so smug while you hide at home." The transfer student was wearing a baseball cap, and it was evening, so I couldn't see his face clearly. "You're actually improving pretty quickly." He tossed me a paper. "Here's your swap geography test, 60 points, just passing." What? My report card clearly said 28 in geography. "Your paper got switched. Don't need me to say by whom, right?" After a long silence, I finally spoke. "Zoe, it's better to strike first rather than settle for peace." The transfer student took off his cap and looked down, smiling at me. "Mia, my name's Lucas." He was right. This time around, why should I avoid taking risks by hiding? I didn't provoke anyone. Why should I pay for their behavior? I should have the courage to live my life properly. The next morning, I obediently returned to school. Ava hadn't even gotten over the last showdown and started throwing shade again. As I walked past her, I glanced at the math paper on her desk. "Your slope calculation is wrong. K is 2, Ava." "Can't handle a problem like this, huh?" Ava, known for her math skills, gave me a piercing stare. "Don't need you to tell me." Immediately, she started scribbling furiously on her paper. Before long, she suddenly turned back and glared at me. Oh, crap! Mia was actually right. How could she know that? She must have seen the answer beforehand. People surrounding Ava whispered, finding it hard to believe I had gotten the last big question correct. I'd never been dumb. From grade school to junior high, I got into the best middle school in the city and entered the key advanced class in high school exams. I have no idea when I started to become rebellious and unreasonable, like my luck was drained from me. I was always chasing after Ryan, ditching school for internet cafes, doing all sorts of unproductive things. Even my college entrance exam was a disaster of my own making. In the end, I got Ryan and completely lost myself. I pulled a small history study guide from my backpack, plugged my ears, and began to quietly recite. After a near-death experience, I found myself stripped of all the unnecessary thoughts. I was more focused now, and only the truly focused deserve the future they want. Lucas wasn't surprised when I returned. He casually placed his geography notes on the corner of my desk. Turns out, Lucas transferred in and immediately topped the class, never missing a beat. He was a miracle. Having someone like him to help was a total game changer. I glanced at the stack of practice books on my desk, flipped one open, and started solving problems. Studying is the one thing where effort guarantees results. The first semester finals of senior year were right around the corner. This time, I had to outscore the old Mia. After I deliberately distanced myself, Zoe never made an effort to approach me again, but considering the last time she swapped my test paper, I kept my guard up. People who've given up fear facing tests, while those who keep building up their knowledge look forward to them. When the test was handed out, I knew I had it in the bag. Those long passages don't intimidate me anymore. Every step, every point to earn flowed naturally from my pen. For the first time, I felt satisfaction and the exhilarating sense of achievement. After the last subject ended, people left the classroom in 2s and 3s. I secretly watched Zoe. She was still there. Zoe was the geography class representative, and my homeroom teacher was the head of the senior geography department. After every test, Zoe would help sort the papers in the office. The paper swap definitely happened. Then, with almost everyone gone, I waited until the last light on the second floor turned off, then tiptoed out of the girls' restroom. Sure enough, Zoe was in the geography room. I was somewhat disappointed. I thought she might have a clever, sneaky plan against me, but instead she chose the dumbest way possible. I watched as she frantically rifled through the pile of test papers on the desk, getting more and more anxious. I picked up a bottle cap and tossed it ahead. The cap hit the corridor tiles with a pop. 18-year-old Zoe didn't have the composure of her 25-year-old self. That little noise made her instantly pull back her hand. Watching her scramble away, I felt great. The school gate was long closed. I made my way to the low wall at the back of the teaching building, ready to climb over. I didn't expect to see Lucas on the other side. "What are you doing here? I figured you'd come out this way." Lucas was mysterious, rarely speaking in class. His cold demeanor made classmates wary, and nobody dared to approach him for help. He was like an invisible man, yet he gleamed with brilliance. This is the Geography and History Study Guide, and these are advanced math problems. If you want to get into a top school, you need to keep improving. Do you really think I can get into a top school? Just a month ago, I could only score in the 400s. Top schools admit over 700 students each year. So, why can't one of them be you? Mia, you're smart. If you put in the effort, it'll pay off. Every flyer at the school gate printed that kind of talk, but it was the first time someone said it to my face. "You sound like a motivational speaker." Lucas laughed. It was the first time I saw him laugh, and somehow it felt familiar. As I expected, when the report cards came out, I scored 557. I was the most improved student in the class. I even prepared to face everyone's scrutiny. If the two-faced homeroom teacher accused me of cheating, I needed an explanation ready, but they had no time because something else happened in the class. Zoe scored a solid last in geography with 26 points. When she got her test paper, she realized it wasn't hers. But misunderstandings like this are hard to clarify. The 26-point geography answer sheet barely had any writing, making it impossible to tell whose it was by the handwriting. Zoe couldn't swallow this silent loss and brought it up in front of the whole class. I noticed her eyes, filled with malice and guilt, kept darting in my direction. "Teacher, I don't think this is Zoe's paper. Who would have nothing better to do than swap someone else's test?" I raised my hand to speak up for Zoe. The homeroom teacher frowned, but didn't say anything. I'd become the most improved student in the grade, bringing her some shine. Even if just for appearances, she didn't badmouth me again. "Okay, Zoe, come to the office after class. Let's not waste everyone's time." Zoe was unwilling, but had no choice. She reluctantly returned to her seat, her eyes fixed on me when the bell signaled the end of class. She followed me to the small platform at the end of the second-floor corridor. "Mia, was it you? What do you mean? Did you swap my paper? It had to be you. Zoe, we were best friends. Why would I do that?" I mimicked Ava's sarcastic tone, realizing how satisfying it was to use it. "Stop pretending." "Who are you trying to fool now?" In the past, I chased Ryan to no avail. Zoe told me Ryan had a rebellious ex-girlfriend, and maybe he liked that type. So I went all out to imitate it, only to look like what he wanted. But words like that shouldn't come from Zoe's mouth. "Zoe, do you really think Ryan ever gave you a second glance despite all your pretending? You can keep pretending, see if it works out. But what you owe me, I'll take it back. I'll show you I'm worthy of everything I want." Zoe was slightly shorter than me. Looking down at her, I felt a rush of satisfaction. Don't think I don't know anything. "Here's your paper. Take it." I tossed a crumpled piece of paper from my pocket, but I also recorded a video of her trying to steal the paper. I watched Zoe's expression, furious enough to strangle me. I brushed past her. At the corner of the platform, I hadn't expected to see Ryan, still with that deadpan face. Who knows how much of our conversation he overheard. I stretched, heading back to class. Unnecessary people should clear off quickly. I had 2 more test papers waiting to be finished. Zoe, afraid I'd expose her paper theft, had to accept the 26-point score. 5, and there I was, snagging the Best Progress Award with my 557 score, standing on the flag-raising platform, and feeling this wild mix of emotions. I'd never felt anything like this in my previous life. Flowers and applause, being recognized by so many people, feeling the sun and my achievements shining on me. It was just pure bliss. Thank God for this chance. There are 116 days until the college entrance exams. During our senior year's winter break, we still attended classes, and I noticed something changing with my classmates. Their looks of disdain and disregard were gone. Maybe my relentless study mode rubbed off on them. Occasionally, a few would even come over to discuss problems with me, but after that day, Zoe started avoiding me. She even took time off from our extra holiday classes, kind of like the old me. Mia, you'll be speaking at the 100-day oath ceremony as a model of progress. The homeroom teacher called me to the office and instructed me. It's great to see you focusing now. I'll overlook the past when you disrespected teachers and classmates. Just make sure you prepare well and don't embarrass yourself. Got it? It was the first time the homeroom teacher talked to me kindly like this, and I was a bit taken aback. Knowing I'd speak in front of the whole grade made me excited. In my past life, I got into a deadbeat college for accounting and climbed my way up to a director role in a company, thanks to my smooth talking skills. I was made for this kind of public speaking. Back in the classroom, I saw Lucas working on some practice problems. Lucas, are you speaking at the ceremony too? I asked. As always, he's the rock-solid first in our humanities subjects. No doubt he'd be pulled up there to boost morale, I was just told. Haven't thought it through yet, he replied. Go for it. Why not? It's a chance to shine. I heard the science side was bringing someone up too. Who? Ryan. Lucas moved his chair back a bit, turned to me and said, You want me to go? The class was noisy, but Lucas's voice cut through clear and mature beyond his years. Why was he looking at me like that? I was over being a pushover. At the 100-day oath ceremony, I waited backstage with Lucas, Ryan, and the science progress model. Ryan was going over his speech, his voice calm and pleasant. I sat on the other side, unable to help but stare at him. Why on earth was I ever so obsessed chasing after him? Everyone knew about my previous efforts to get Ryan, and now, us together in one space made the air backstage tense. Mia, you're doing well now. Ryan set his notes aside and walked over. I looked up at his approaching figure, his somewhat youthful face blending with that of his face from 10 years ago, caught cheating in a hotel. Disgusting. Yeah, I'm doing great now, I said, just being humble, Ryan. No one chases another blindly for 10 years. Only an idiot does that. I turned his words back at him and reminded myself. Mia, come here, said my tutor. Did you memorize the points I taught you yesterday? I had forgotten my private tutor was still here. I moved over next to Lucas to quietly recite what I learned, noticing the intense gaze from Ryan on the other side. After the ceremony, the pace of our senior year quickened. If I was originally chasing my dream of a top school out of spite for Ava, now I genuinely brainwashed myself. If you say stuff often enough, you'll eventually believe it. And now I believed I could get into a prestigious school. Mia, you need rest too. Don't stay up too late, my dad said. Like every father portrayed in essays, bringing me a comforting cup of milk every night. Seeing him healthier and more vigorous than me reminded me of another important task since my rebirth. Dad, let's go for a medical checkup on Saturday. Why go waste money when there's nothing wrong with me? He suddenly got evasive, clearly avoiding the potential discovery of a bigger issue. That's settled then. Etuar, Saturday you'll go with me. Just consider it a break from studying. He had nothing else to say, but at the hospital, we had a little incident. At the self-service window on the first floor, printing the report, I ran into Ryan again. He looked at me with not so great intentions. Why are you looking at me? I'm not stalking you. I know. What are you doing here? Are you sick? Nope. Still kicking. Thank you very much. Ryan frowned slightly, confused. Mia, you've gotten pretty sharp-tongued. Yeah, but before, when I wasn't snappy, you didn't exactly spend more time looking at me either. You could... Never mind, I have to go. See you. As I turned to leave, Ryan called out again. Mia, heard you made it to the top 100 in the second mock exam. Congrats. Ryan, your face right now doesn't exactly scream congratulations. It's more like you're constipated, which is kind of hilarious, really. That face took me back to my first birthday after we got married. I didn't expect him to remember, especially since he was so busy sleeping at the office back then. But late that night when I was almost asleep, he came home. Reeking of alcohol, he passed out on the sofa. When cleaning up, I found a necklace in his pocket. Ryan, what's this? A gift from a client? You can have it. Even though he looked drunk, his frowning expression was exactly the same as before. After saying that, he turned around and fell asleep. But I stayed up all night excitedly holding that necklace. Ryan, I'm really not interested in getting tangled up with you anymore. Listen carefully. It's not about whether I can or not, it's that I don't want to. I suddenly realize you're not worthy of me. After a full hospital checkup found nothing, my dad was even happier than me. This really put my mind at ease. As long as I do regular checkups, the outcome will be different. Following the second simulation exam, my score steadily climbed to 620. The class teacher praised me as another miracle in class 10, but it also kind of plateaued there. I know scoring this high in liberal arts makes you a top student, but it's still far from Cambridge. I never knew before I could be so obsessed with something. I rummaged through weekly mock tests but had no idea where to improve. It turns out getting from 400 to 600 is easy, but going higher is tough. I felt stuck, madly going through practice questions every day until Lucas interrupted me. Mia, there are no classes this afternoon. Let me take you somewhere. Hey, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. I was busy reviewing notes and really didn't have time for him. But Lucas wasn't taking no for an answer. He grabbed the back of my neck. I was so startled, I looked up immediately, and then he dragged me out of the classroom. He somehow got the keys to the school library roof. It was my first time there, and looking down at the school from above gave a sense of openness. It even cleared up my foggy mind, messed up by all the revision. This was my high school for 4 years, with nothing memorable in the first 3, but this last year was something I cherished deeply. Why did you bring me here? Mia, do you want to go to Cambridge? Clara asked me this 6 months ago, and back then, I confidently and boastfully said I would definitely get in, but I underestimated Cambridge's weight. When Lucas asked the same question now, my face felt a bit hot, and I hesitated before answering. I do want to. Seems like your goal is set. I didn't understand and looked at him puzzled. I just wanted to see how confident you are. Lucas chuckled and squeezed my shoulder. But getting into Cambridge doesn't mean you have to work yourself to death nonstop. You need to learn how to study, not just mindless book bashing. Otherwise, you might have the life to get into Cambridge, but not to study there. I burst out laughing. I never thought Lucas could be this funny. He already got a spot at Cambridge. With his level, as long as he shows up for exams, he's all but seated in Cambridge. But I never felt he mocked or looked down on me. Lucas meant a lot to me that year, as both a mentor and a friend. Sometimes he seemed more mature than me. His words and actions didn't match what an 18-year-old would normally do. If you find the classroom too noisy, you can come here to study and let the breeze blow through your rusty head. Where did you get the key? You didn't steal it, did you? Lucas smirked. My family donated this building. Do I need to steal a key? I vaguely heard Lucas's family had money and had donated a few buildings to the school, allowing him to transfer here in senior year. I never imagined I'd hear this from him. Suddenly having a rich friend made me feel a bit overwhelmed. Lucas seemed like a calming anchor, a personal tutor I frequently admired. He knew me better than I knew myself. 20 days to exams, the cicadas were chirping loudly outside, but the seniors were completely unfazed. Since the geography paper incident, Zoe seemed like she lost her mind and took a whole month off. People said she felt embarrassed and went home for one-on-one tutoring. Thinking back to her embarrassed look on the small platform that day made me feel a bit of payback. Last time before exams, Zoe came to tell me Ryan might leave the country after exams with his childhood sweetheart. That night, unwilling to accept it, I went to Ryan's place and yelled until my throat was sore. But he never came down. The next day, I was so out of it I couldn't even get my usual scores and didn't pass the cutoff. That night, she revealed all the things she'd done to me over the years. She liked Ryan, but couldn't compete with how I'd just go for it. This twisted her mind, leading her to hate me and try everything to destroy my life. I thought about giving it all back, but couldn't become another Zoe. After the 3-province joint exam, Zoe unexpectedly returned to school. Many were gossiping about me and her, but no one hit the nail on the head. The next day at noon, while I was eating takeout in class, the class president from next door came saying the teacher wanted me at the office. Why would a teacher be in the office during lunch? I wondered as I put down my chopsticks. As I turned the corner on the second floor, people were fooling around, and I felt a chill from behind. Suddenly, my right arm was yanked, and a hand brushed past my left shoulder. Off balance, I fell to my knees, and the person who grabbed me tumbled down, knocking Ryan over. What a messed up fate. Is this the price of my rebirth? Everyone in the hallway freaked out, staring at us three colliding before crowding around noisily. Mia, are you okay? The class officer was in the hallway and rushed over to help me up when he saw me fall. No, I tried to stand but was too scared to move. Am I going to walk with a limp now? Please help me find Lucas if you can. In the end, the three of us were taken away by ambulance. As we passed by Ryan and the other guy, it was clear they seemed more badly injured. After all, falling down the stairs was brutal. Zoe really went hard, Mia. How did you get so hurt at school? My mom saw my knees, both red and swollen, and my right ankle, as purple as a big bun, and broke down before I did. I'm okay, Mom, just a fracture, nothing serious. Zoe went all out, but I was lucky enough to only sprain my ankle. That moment really scared the hell out of me. It wasn't until I got to the hospital that I started to calm down. I couldn't believe she would go that far. Lucas, do you believe in fate? I watched the doctor wrap my ankle and tugged on Lucas's sleeve. After what seemed like forever, he finally answered. Yeah, I do. That surprised me. I didn't expect him to be a believer. I do too. So Zoe has to face consequences. I felt so conflicted inside. Every movement from the doctor sent sharp pains through my ankle, waking me up. Lucas, can you call the police for me? There's surveillance in the hallway. No need to argue about who's right or wrong, even if it's just a minor injury. I want Zoe to understand the weight of the law. No one makes mistakes without facing consequences, and this wasn't her first time. As for Ryan, even though he saved me, the pain and sorrow I felt because of him are things I can't forget. I can't forgive him. The last 20 days rushed by in the craziest way, ending so abruptly. Lucas took some time off to come over every day to help keep me on track with studying. After injuring my foot, I couldn't concentrate for 3 days. When I finally picked up a pen again, it felt foreign. Lucas knew my temperament and didn't bring up that day again. He just stayed quietly by my side, helping me with my work. Lucas, the college entrance exam is the day after tomorrow. Are you nervous at all? The moment I said it, I regretted it. That was stupid of me. Of course, Lucas wouldn't be nervous. His expression didn't change. He just kept writing diligently on the big problems. Mia, don't get too worked up. In 3 days, we'll be free. Yeah, in just 3 days. That phrase helps so many high schoolers get through the exams, but my heart's still on edge. This is my first year taking it after working hard. Even though I'm not that young, I'm still so nervous. Have you decided? Cambridge, right? Aren't we going together? I pouted. Okay. At this point, I'd pretty much given up on Cambridge. One night, I was so anxious I couldn't sleep, and I checked Cambridge's website. You need about 680 points to secure admission. My last provincial exam, I barely scored 651 points. That's way too much of a gap to make up in 20 days. But I don't want to weigh Lucas's mood down because of me. I propped my head up with my hand on the table, letting out a long sigh. This whole year felt like a dream. From the moment I woke up in the hospital, realizing I'd been reincarnated, to the journey of hustling to become a better Mia. I can't believe how far I've come, and I really love the person I am now. Don't think so much. Trust me, you're a child favored by God. There's sure to be a surprise waiting for you ahead. Lucas lightly tapped my head with his pen, laughing as he spoke. What are you laughing at? I'm not laughing. Why are you looking at me and not at your work? Lucas, you've changed. You weren't like this before. The first time I met him, I tried to recall. He moved my table and didn't say a word. Oh, I suddenly felt grateful. During those hard times, Lucas, who came out of nowhere, was there with me through it all. Lucas taught me to stay calm in situations, but not to just let things go, or others would keep pushing boundaries. He told me real success is competing with yourself and helped me catch up on the 2 years' worth of knowledge I missed. The teacher calls me another miracle of Class 10, but what they don't see is how much Lucas has helped me behind the scenes. Lucas, see you at Cambridge for sure. June 8th, I walked into the college entrance exam for the second time. Every subject handed out made my hands shake with nerves, but thinking of Lucas's encouragement, I quickly got it together. History came naturally, calculus flowed smoothly, and math was always my strength. Even geography, which scared me the most, I tackled without a hitch. I don't know if fate will favor me again, but I have no regrets this time around for the college entrance exam. The final bell rang, and my 4 years of high school were officially over. I was squeezed out through the crowd heading downstairs and out the door, where I saw my mom and dad. Mia, you're done with exams. So happy. Let's head home and eat. I hugged my mom, pouted, and looked back. Lucas stood across the street waving at me. I'm here. I handed my backpack to my mom and pushed through the crowd to get over to him. Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the air. Instinctively, I looked over. A car was speeding toward me, brakes screeching. Mia. I looked up and saw Lucas rushing toward me. My head hurts like it's being pummeled. So many memories flooded into my head. It was Lucas, 25-year-old Mia, before being hit by a truck, had also been pushed aside fiercely by someone. It was always Lucas. God, you let me be reborn. Is it just to push me to excel and take this test again? Life was just starting to get good, so why this now? I felt dizzy. When I woke up, all I saw was a white wall. Who am I? Where am I? This time, unlike before, my dad wasn't sitting by peeling apples. Just my mom quietly crying beside me. Mom, Mia, you're awake. My voice was so hoarse I couldn't even speak. Where's my dad? Where's my dad? Your dad went downstairs to pay the fees. He'll be right back, don't worry. Son, thank goodness my dad is still around. This is 2015, not that awful 2022, where I had nothing. I relaxed, staring up at the ceiling. Before I got hit by the car, I think Lucas pushed me out of the way. Mom, where's Lucas? Is that your classmate? He's upstairs. Heard he hit his head. We really need to thank him, rushing in like that to save you. If it weren't for him, what would we do with my Mia? She started tearing up again, and I was anxious, wishing I could rush to Lucas's room right away. Who is he really? Why did he save me in that timeline too? Is he also someone who came back like I did? The more I think about it, the more it seems right. There were no transfer students in our class junior year, and each time I improved was when Lucas was there encouraging and helping me. It's as if he knows my future, trying every way to save me from my mistakes, stopping me from walking down the path of failure again. Lucas, you can't be hurt. I had so many questions for him, I couldn't sleep all night. Now my ankle, not fully healed from the fracture, was broken again, though nothing else was seriously wrong. But I still couldn't hear any news about Lucas. Mom, can you take me downstairs to see my classmate? You mean that young man? He was discharged this morning. Everything checked out, so he left after another day of observation. He left. Didn't he even want to see me? How could he just leave like that? Mom, where's my phone? Let me have it. Lucas wasn't picking up, and I suddenly felt uneasy. This wasn't like him. He always answered my calls even deep into the night when I needed help with homework. Was Lucas really just a dream? No, I can't believe that. I couldn't find Lucas. I realized I knew nothing about him. I didn't know where he lived or who his friends were. He just appeared by my side, and I accepted it all without question. I never thought about why this boy, who carefully protected my dreams, was so good to me. On the day the exam results were released, my parents were all around me. After several tries, the page suddenly loaded smoothly. A string of numbers appeared unexpectedly in the middle of the screen. I counted down in my mind. 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, Mia, did I misread this? My mom hugged me tightly, while my dad stood frozen, rubbing his eyes, thinking it must be his presbyopia. 657 points. I scored my highest since coming back. Not satisfied, I dialed Lucas again, and surprisingly, it connected. Lucas, is that you? Beep, beep, he hung up right away on the other end. Why didn't he answer? My eyes welled up with tears, and I furiously called back until he turned off his phone. Lucas, just let me catch you, and it won't end so easily. The next day, the school handed out diplomas. I hobbled along on crutches to the classroom building. Passing students gave me odd looks, not because of my crutches, but because I scored 657. Mia, known for skipping classes and chasing boys, scored 657 on the final exams. Mia, you're amazing. I take back what I said before. A boy sitting diagonally in front of me said to me shyly on the stairs, scratching his head as he apologized, a hint of sincerity in his eyes. Need a hand? No, I got it, thanks. I used to hate these people. Their words pierced me like knives, though I pretended it didn't matter and secretly resented them deeply. But now I felt relieved. Maybe the old me really wasn't likable, someone everyone kept their distance from. Childhood likes and dislikes are intense, driven by emotions alone. Thank God for giving me this chance to get to know them again and to end my high school journey in such a fulfilling way. Did you hear? Ryan bombed the test, didn't even score 650. Seriously? Did he fall and hit his head or something? Who knows? What a mess. Heard he's thinking of retaking the year. And Zoe didn't do much better, just over 500. They had something going on. Wow. I craned my neck, trying to catch every juicy detail, afraid to miss anything. Mia, eavesdropping. I turned around quickly. It was Ryan, hands in his pockets, smirking slightly as he looked at me. Not at all like someone who just failed the exams. What are you doing here? I noticed a faint mark on his forearm and suddenly remembered. About the staircase incident when Zoe knocked me down. I hadn't thanked you yet. No worries, I just did it in passing. He cheated on me, yet saved me once. I call it even. Anyway, we wouldn't have chances to meet after graduation. Then I'm heading back to class. Why did you stop pursuing me? Am I some winning lottery ticket for you to chase every day? Ryan chuckled to himself. Mia, happy graduation. Hope you keep it up. Thanks a lot. With that, I turned and walked away, never looking back. Maybe this was Ryan's comeuppance. Even the high and mighty have their falls. After all the diplomas were handed out, I still didn't get to see Lucas. I even questioned if he ever took the exams, but his 683 score banner was right there at the school gate, proving he did. When everyone had left, I finally packed my things, got my crutch, and stood up. The now empty desk looked exactly like it did when I first got here, and it turns out these 8 months were quite long. Getting down the stairs on crutches is tougher than going up. I just learned how to handle stairs, and wobbling like this freaks me out. Damn, Lucas, when I need you, you're not around. Wouldn't have broken my foot if you hadn't tackled me so hard. Damn, Lucas. On the last step, I lost my balance and fell backward. Instead of the usual pain, I landed in a warm embrace. I opened my eyes. Lucas, where did you disappear to? I clung to his sleeve, worried he'd vanish again. Why didn't you answer my calls? Lucas's face was blank, but I saw the worry in his eyes. This isn't working. So I leaned against him, sliding down to sit on the floor. My foot really hurts, Lucas. Could you take me to the hospital? Mia, stop pretending. It's not. It really does hurt. Lucas's face darkened, and he let out a long sigh before turning his back to me and squatting down. Hop on. Sure? Outside the school gates, Lucas paused. Still want to go to the hospital? He really gets me. Seems like it doesn't hurt anymore. Take me to the bubble tea shop across the street. My dad said he'd pick me up there. Lucas obliged, carrying me the rest of the way and gently setting me down. Beads of sweat on his forehead. Don't leave. I grabbed him again. Let me wipe your sweat first. Clearing my throat, I whispered, Lucas, I know your secret. Do you know mine? Stop pretending. Let's be honest. I gave him a look, and after a moment, Lucas smiled at me. Mia, I didn't expect you'd get so smart. What do you mean, Lucas? Do you like me? Since waking up in the hospital, putting things together, I'd felt maybe Lucas helps me because he likes me. His gaze was like how I once looked at Ryan, filled with a summer-like intensity. That kind of affection can't be faked. Yeah, I like you. Just like that, Lucas's voice softened. You might not know how much I like you. Back then, your eyes were only for Ryan. When I saw you again, you had changed. Not lively and bright-eyed like Mia in high school. I heard you were with Ryan. I thought you'd be happy, but you didn't seem it. That night, seeing the truck rush at you, I just wanted to save you. Lucas gave a bitter laugh. Didn't think I'd wake up back at 18. The bubble tea shop's cool air made me feel like I'd heard a distant story, yet I could also clearly see someone running toward me. Mia, I just want to help you be better. Never intended to replace someone special in your heart. Turns out when I loved Ryan all those years, someone else was fully devoted to me. Lucas, I'm a child favored by God who gave me a chance to reclaim myself after a decade lost. And you just happened to catch some of that luck. Lucas, have you applied to colleges yet? I have. What about you? Holding the college applications guide, I frowned. I might not get into Cambridge. I'm scared I won't get into my chosen course. Mia, why do you have to get into Cambridge? Yeah, when did Cambridge turn into an obsession for me? Was it after arguing with Ava, betting with a teacher, or hearing Lucas aimed for Cambridge? I can't quite remember. Some memories feel buried and far away. Mia, nobody says you must go to Cambridge. What suits you is more important. I don't know what suits me. Feeling down, I said. And before, when I use Cambridge as motivation, not getting in feels like I failed, but if we set our goals too low from the start, thinking we can't make it, reality will tell us so. I don't get it. When I said I believed you could get into a top school, it was to motivate you. Even if grades weren't enough, you're still outstanding. Everything you've worked for won't be in vain. Whatever results you get are worthy of you. Those days walking alone in darkness, the wind knew, the rain knew, every sunrise and sunset knew. Lucas flicked my forehead. You think too much with your small brain. Don't overthink. Your brain is small. We locked eyes and burst into laughter. Lucas, if I don't get into Cambridge, can we still be together? What do you think? Thanks to God for giving me a new life. You gave yourself a new life. October 2nd. I stood with my luggage at the university gates. People bustling by, faces full of joy. I wandered in the shade until a pair of sneakers appeared in front of me. Why so late? I've been waiting forever. Cambridge's move-in was earlier than Oxford. Lucas had arrived 2 days ago and came to accompany me today. Lucas flicked my forehead and said, "Let's go check in first." I rolled my eyes at him, but inside felt like I was filled with honey. The suitcase was so heavy, I dragged it alone for so long. I welcomed the best summer of my 18-year-old self. A long-dreamed acceptance letter, cicadas buzzing outside the window, the heat wave from Cambridge to Oxford, the touchable youth. I grabbed Lucas's hand, interlocking our fingers. Let's go chase the next dream.